Do you think for the voters of Florida that OnlyFans is really a major issue?
We don't want our women in Florida to feel as if the only way they can make a living is by selling nude images or videos on the internet to complete strangers. And
okay, when I first heard this, my thought was like, really? OnlyFans existing is going to make women feel like the only option to make money is by like selling their nudes or whatever the fuck he said. That's what it's going to make people feel like?
On whatever you so-called earn via that online degeneracy platform.
Now,
okay, first of all, huge red flag. Whatever you so-called earn. I don't know. I don't. What does that even mean? Are you saying these people don't earn this money? They have a product. They're selling it. People are buying it. What is that? How is that not earned? But secondly, going back to what he's saying here, I've talked about this a million times. This whole toxicity thing, guys, look, toxicity is one of those things that I don't think should be labeled of like really any kind of like gender. Toxic is toxic. It just is. Don't be toxic. If you're a guy, don't be toxic. If you're a woman, don't be toxic. If you don't identify as a man or woman, don't be toxic. Okay? The point is, just don't be toxic. Just don't do it. Don't do it. Stop. Stop being toxic. You, toxic, don't join them. Just don't do it. What's going on, guys? Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Weekly Reaction. Now, the purpose of this show and why it's called the Weekly Reaction is quite simple. So, firstly, I love content creation. I hope to do this full-time someday. It is absolutely my favorite to dive into these things, to discuss with people, critically think, all that kind of stuff. But, honestly, I work full-time. I spend time with my family, spend time with my friends, my hobbies. I take care of my health pretty well. I go to the gym, focus on my diet, all that kind of stuff. So I don't have as much time to be as thorough as I could be otherwise. Now, on the weekend, I can be a bit more thorough, but during the week, I can't. I just can't. So as the channel grows, though, I'm going to have, and like I said, hopefully full time, I'm going to be incredibly deep into diving into these things. I will have a lot more nuance to things, a lot more critical thinking, all that kind of stuff. For now, what I try to do is have these weekly reaction videos and just try to be honest about how little I do and don't know. So, or how much I do and don't know. So there's still going to be an aspect of that critically thinking. You know, I'm not just going to be like shitting things out and say like, oh my God, this is definitely what I think and fully true and you guys should just run with this. No, look in the context, understand what I'm doing here, and just go on this journey with me. You know, like I said, I started this channel to be really a beacon of critical thinking, of being nuanced, all that kind of stuff. So go on that journey with me. Have discussions, all this stuff. And like I said, if I can do this full time, which I'd love to do one day, with your guys' support, that would be fantastic. So if you want to, if you can, like, subscribe, comment, donate to Patreon, all that kind of stuff. The comments seem to help quite a bit for two reasons. One, and I genuinely mean this is the most important, I like comments, I like discussions, I like talking with you guys, seriously. But also, I do think they help the algorithm a little bit. So we will jump right into this. And so this was from... posted 4 days ago by CNN, and the title is Florida GOP candidate wants to put a, quote, syntax, end quote, on OnlyFans. Now, when I first saw this, I knew I had to do some kind of reaction to it, just because this is something that like comes up a lot for me, like this kind of topic, right? Like the morality of this kind of thing versus like the freedoms that we want to give people, all that kind of stuff. So I've watched this through once, and then I'll react to it the second time. And like I said, not going to be as thorough as I'd like it to be, but still, I enjoy this. We can have a discussion from this. At least it can start a conversation, right? So let's get into it. Like I said, do your own research, read your own conclusions, be thorough, all that good stuff. Sorry if I've zoomed into this so much. I don't know how that happened, if it happened, but whatever the case, if the zoom is off for some reason, that might be my fault. There also might be an echo. That's probably me, not CNN. So, yeah, let's get into it.
Tonight, a controversial Florida Republican running to replace Republican Governor Ron DeSantis is making headlines, denouncing aid to Israel, supporting a moratorium on immigration, and now proposing a 50% sin tax for Florida content creators on Onlyfans, a subscription-based site known for its explicit content. Donnie O'Sullivan is out front.
OnlyFans has made some women millionaires.
So I missed a little bit of what the other thing. It sounded like she was saying that she supports some other stuff, but obviously, you know, the main purpose of this is going to be talking about the sin tax. I missed a little bit of what she said in the beginning there about the other things that he supports. But anyway,
I've just hit 100 million.
$100 million.
But in Florida, a Republican candidate for governor wants to bring in what he calls a 50% sin tax.
Okay, so first of all, $100 million is just like fucking insane. Not insane even for like this specifically, just like $100 million is like a shitload of fucking money. Yeah, it just, I mean, there's nothing else to say about that. It just is.
Governor wants to bring in what he calls a 50% sin tax
on whatever you so-called earn via that online degeneracy platform.
Now,
okay, first of all, huge red flag. Whatever you so-call earn. I don't know. I don't, what does that even mean? Are you saying these people don't earn this money? They have a product. They're selling it. People are buying it. What is that? How is that not earned? Are you saying earned because they're not working 40 hours a week at like a quote unquote like regular job? Is that what you mean by like earned? I don't know, but as far as I know, this is just like a basic like you have a product, you're given into a market that wants to buy the product. The people in the market then buy the product. We can have a conversation about whether or not that's like a thing that we want to support or not, but to say that you've like earned it, I don't know, it feels a little weird. Now, maybe I'm missing something, though.
On whatever you so-called earn via that online degeneracy platform.
now a political target, Onlyfans women are speaking out.
Before you want to tax thousands of women just because we actually took this into our own hands, start taxing the companies that are flooding into here.
A Florida politician trying to start beef with me for clout.
So I'm driving across the Sunshine State to meet the Onlyfans creators and the...
I will say, as someone who is extremely skeptical of the like mainstream pornographic industry, I think having OnlyFans where like the woman or the man or whoever can take complete control of the product they're creating, first instinct is that would likely be a million times better than going through like agencies or agents, and then they have to deal with whatever the company is, and then it's like I don't know. I would imagine in that situation, if there's more people there might be more pressure for things like consent going wrong. If multiple people are there to pressure you. Now, on the other hand, if you had like a one-on-one interaction or something with somebody, maybe that could go as wrong too, because there's not as many people there to hold everybody accountable. I don't know. It could go either way. But the point is, like, I think on the surface, the woman having more control of the content they create is 1,000% something I am behind. 1,000%.
So I'm driving across the Sunshine State to meet the Onlyfans creators and the candidate for governor, who are in the middle of a very public debate about the adult entertainment industry.
I don't want to catfish any of you, even though I was on Tinder last week. And I joined and I said, I want to meet young female voters where they are, I said.
James Fishback wants to be the next governor of Florida. He's running in the Republican primary against Trump-endorsed and heavy favorite Congressman Byron Donalds.
Do you think for the voters of Florida that OnlyFans is really a major issue?
We don't want our women in Florida to...
Okay, so I would be interested to see the pollings on this, but I can see, especially in the right-wing conservative movement, that this actually being an issue that can sell. Because I don't know what it is. I mean, obviously, like, politics in general involves a lot of, like, appealing to emotions, which isn't necessarily, like, a bad thing. I think we're all emotional creatures at the end of the day. But it wouldn't surprise me if you could do this and maybe a couple other things that could really convince people to vote for you. Maybe not as much in the Trump era. I don't know, because Trump seems to have, like, such a stronghold on the Republican Party right now. But maybe in the future, a candidate like this will be just be more obviously popular.
Congressman Byron Donalds.
Do you think...
Maybe he is right now, I don't know, although they did say the other guy's the favorite.
think for the voters...
And heavy favorite Congressman Byron Donalds.
Do you think for the voters of Florida that OnlyFans is really a major issue?
We don't want our women in Florida to feel as if the only way they can make a living is by selling nude images or videos on the internet to complete strangers. And
okay, when I first heard this, my thought was like, really? OnlyFans existing is going to make women feel like the only option to make money is by like selling their nudes or whatever the fuck he said. That's what it's going to make people feel like. Again, I could be missing something, of course. But again, if you, I just don't see that. I kind of lost my train of thought there. I don't see that. I don't see that as like, oh, this is now women think this is like the only option. Like, why? Why would you think that as a woman? I know what I was going to say now. If you wanted to have a conversation that it's still an option for women and you could talk about why that's good or bad, fair enough. But to say it's like, now they're going to think it's the only option, like, but what? What?
Issue.
We don't want our women in Florida to feel as if the only way they can make a living is by selling nude images or videos on the internet to complete strangers. And the men who spend their money, their time, their resources, I'm not letting them off the hook either. I think they are just as complicit by handing over money to see these nude images. My view is really simple.
Okay, so fair enough. And I think that's a big part of this, right? Is like, if you are going to be, well, first of all, again, I don't think this should be a thing. I don't think there should be a tax on this. But I definitely think there is like a double culpability here. I think all that's look, if you're a man and you don't want the OnlyFans environment to exist, if you just don't want that to be a thing, I think on principle, you would have to give it to like, say like it's equally viable on both sides. But even that is like, that's just me like exploring like I guess like an alternative universe in which, like, not an alternative universe, but that's me putting myself in, like, trying to put myself in the shoes of somebody who could come to this somewhat reasonably. But again, this is like, the thing I want to stress here is this is like a buyer-seller market, right? The seller exists because the buyer wants something. They do. So if you want to go out and change this, my mind would say change what the men are pursuing. If you have a bunch of men who are constantly on OnlyFans, constantly watching porn, yeah, of course, that's bad. But that doesn't mean that that's not something you should make illegal. Just encourage them to not do that. Now, with that said, I'm not even against, though, having a world of balance, right? Where like you can subscribe to like an OnlyFans creator, you can watch pornography that's ethical, and you can also live like a balanced life. I think that's something that can happen. Now, would I do that personally? Would I ever subscribe to an OnlyFans? Like, no, that's something I'm never going to do. But that's me personally. I'm not interested in saying that other people, it's impossible to live their life that way and be balanced. I think it's possible. It's just not something that in my current life, in my current state of mind, I would want to do.
Just as complicit by handing over money to see these nude images. My view is really simple. If OnlyFans did not exist in Florida, we would be better off for it. I will not tolerate cultural filth and moral degeneracy in my state.
So again, the problem with this too is like the slippery slope of like, okay, you're taking away this. Well, like how much are you going to take away? Who's going to define what's like moral filth and degeneracy? I mean, unless you have like a 99% consensus on what that is, like public nudity or something like that, I would assume almost everyone is against that. Then this is just going to be like a slippery slope.
My view is really simple. If OnlyFans did not exist in Florida, we would be better off for it. I will not tolerate cultural filth and moral degeneracy in my state.
OnlyFans is an online subscription platform for creators, but it's especially popular for women who make pornographic content like Anya Lacey.
You guys are gonna get a kick out of this one. Make America great again.
Anya is 20 years old and calls herself a red-blooded conservative.
How quickly did your OnlyFans grow?
Oh, it was pretty big. Even that first day, I mean, I made like more money than I thought I would.
When did you first hear about James Fishback? And how about his sin tax?
I think it's grandstanding. I think it's a publicity thing, which has worked. I mean, you guys are here. I mean, this state is covered in strip clubs. It's silly to say like, oh, we're gonna have morals now.
A lot of your...
I want to just say this too. If you're like a young man and you're watching this, you come across this. I just want to stress, if you feel like you are being like captured by pornography or being captured by any kind of other thing that you would describe as, I don't know if this is the right word, but like hedonistic, impulsive, and you're not living a meaningful life, I hear you, brother. Seriously, I hear you. And I want you to do better. I want you to get out of that. I want you to find some kind of path of meaning that makes life worth living, right? Go out and change the world. Go out and find your path. Go out and make a difference. Go out and make the world a better place. The people around you, help your family, help your community, help everyone, right? Bring joy into the world. Bring happiness into the world. Bring confidence into the world. Bring just positivity. Be that force of positive energy. You can do that, and at the same time, recognize that there are some freedoms that people deserve to have, even if you don't agree with them and even if you don't want to participate in them.
I think it's a publicity thing, which has worked. I mean, you guys are here. I mean, this state is covered in strip clubs. It's silly to say like, oh, we're going to have morals now.
A lot of your volunteers here are young men especially. What is it about you that has drawn interest from them?
I'm speaking the truth. Singular, not plural. Masculinity is not toxic. There's nothing toxic about hanging out with your guy friends, nothing toxic about watching football. What's toxic is telling young men that they are responsible for the sins and the ills of society.
Fish.
Okay, so first of all, this is Sneeko, which when I first saw this, I was like, no fucking way, Sneeko is in this. But secondly, going back to what he's saying here, I've talked about this a million times. This whole toxicity thing, guys, look, toxicity is one of those things that I don't think should be labeled of like really any kind of like gender. Toxic is toxic. It just is. Don't be toxic. If you're a guy, don't be toxic. If you're a woman, don't be toxic. If you don't identify as a man or woman, don't be toxic. Okay? The point is, just don't be toxic. Just don't do it. Don't do it. Stop being toxic. You, toxic, don't join them. Just don't do it. Now, does that mean we can't have discussions about like typically, like if there's certain numbers that, I'm not saying that means I'd have to think about this more, but I'm not going so far as to say there is never a time to talk about what like specific people go through in specific instances. And that's just like, we should never talk about that. But I think that over focusing on like, is it toxic masculinity? Is it toxic femininity? All that kind of stuff. Like, dude, just stop being toxic. If you stop being toxic, then we'll be fine.
There's nothing toxic about hanging out with your guy friends, nothing toxic about watching football. What's toxic is telling young men that they are responsible for the sins and the ills of society.
Fishback has also gained support from influencers in the online manosphere.
Could not believe I saw fucking Sneeko on this. I just want to say this. Again, I first saw Sneeko on this and I was like, no fucking way, it's Sneeko.
Fishback has also gained support from influencers in the online manosphere like Sneeko and Nick Fuentes, figures known for anti-Semitism and misogyny. One of the world's most famous OnlyFans creators also lives in Florida.
You're gonna stay a Florida girl.
We'll see if James Fishback becomes governor. Might push me out.
Sophie Rain has been singled out by Fishback, who says she would owe $42 million if he becomes governor.
And so, there is a sort of thriving space online that like actively despises women, right? I mean, what do you have to say about toxic masculinity?
It's sad. That word just sends chills down my spine, if I'm being honest. I think it's the same kind of about weaponized incompetence. You know what I mean? Like, there's no reason to be acting like this. We are all adults at the end of the day, and I think that there are bigger problems in this world that we need to be focused on instead of trying to regulate women's bodies.
OnlyFans, it's freedom of speech though, right? I mean, if you want to go on there and you want to express yourself in this way or make money this way.
This is not an argument about the First Amendment or free speech. This is an argument about what kind of society we want to live in. Sophie Rain could be doing so much more.
Actually, both.
Okay, so let's replay that part again.
Though, right? I mean, if you want to go on there and you want to express yourself in this way or make money this way.
This is not an argument about the First Amendment or free speech. This is an argument about what kind of society we want to live in. Sophie Rain could be doing so much more.
Okay, I actually don't agree with that. It is the kind of society that we want to live in. The question is, what kind of society do we want to live in? Do we want to live in a society where we try to make things better, but also understand that people have certain freedoms and can act out those freedoms? Or do we want to live in a society where the government might potentially take this and just keep overreaching and overreaching and overreaching and overreaching? Also, again, I know these interviews can be cut. I know that might be skewed a certain way, yada, yada, yada. But assuming that wasn't happened, because it kind of sounded like there may have been a cut there at the end, so take this with a grain of salt. But I don't even know if there was a cut. But anyway, it sounded like he said, like, Sophie Rain could be doing so much better. Again, I understand to some degree there has to be like a society-wide expectation of what is considered better and doing worse, right? I don't think anybody Like, most people, if you looked at someone on the street that was like homeless and addicted to drugs and has severe mental health issues, obviously that person is doing worse than the guy who has like a family, is super happy and is making 6 figures and just loves his life. Like, I think we should have some kind of expectation of society. Some things are better, some things are worse. With that said, sometimes it's going to be subjective. For Sophie Rain, it might be that she loves her life. It might be that she's just selling a product that people want. I don't know the details of what Sophie Rain does. I don't know the details of every creator on OnlyFans. I'm not saying that every OnlyFans creator is or isn't ethical. I can see a situation in which an OnlyFans creator is like basically purposely trying to encourage like married men, for example, to come and chat with them and act like they're fake girlfriend, or really single lonely guys taking advantage of how lonely they are. I'm not saying those things are good. Just because I'm supporting this OnlyFans per se doesn't mean that I'm saying every OnlyFans creator is good or bad. There's nuance to it. But again, going back to what he was saying before, how do you want your society to look? I would prefer the freedoms here. Then he says, Sophie Rain could do better. Maybe, but I think it might be a little more complicated than that.
This way, or make money this way.
This is not an argument about the First Amendment or free speech. This is an argument about what kind of society we want to live in. Sophie Rain could be doing so much more.
Actually, both Anya and Sophie say the platform has done a lot for them. It's helped make their lives better.
It just has created so many opportunities for me, and I'm so thankful to even be here. It helped me build a business.
Tony, this is all fascinating. You also, though, as part of your reporting, spoke to young men I know who do support Fishback. Okay, so what did they tell you?
Yeah, Aaron, look, I mean, what Fishback is doing very effectively is tapping into this online space, manosphere, whatever you want to call it, but basically where young men are online. And look, he talks a lot about the economy, he talks a lot about affordability issues, and they're the issues we heard people talking about. But more broadly, and how he's getting attention, how he is communicating this, is through issues like this so-called OnlyFans syntax. And from sort of following this space quite closely, that's something that we've heard, this idea, this fascination with OnlyFans girls and sort of coming after them has been something we've seen developing in this space from Tucker Carlson to others in the last couple of months. Also, finally, I should mention that he is very critical of Israel, and again, that is something that we're seeing with younger people, especially under 30 in the online space, that is resonating with them as well.
Yeah, I'm seeing that in some of the polling. All right, thank you very much, Tony.
Okay. So,
tonight, a controversial.
They actually have a little barcode. Oh shit! It looks like they actually have a little barcode that you can scan there to see the full story. I always encourage people to do that. Also, again, when I watch these videos, doing my best to report as I can. I think sometimes it's not that there might be a second where I space out for a second where I miss a few words. So again, doing research, be as thorough as you can. But look, I mean, what do you guys think? Do you guys think this is like? Do you agree with me? Is this something that like just shouldn't be taxed? Should we be taxing this? Is this like a very obvious degenerate thing that we should just be like, no, we're not. Obviously, we're not doing this. It's OnlyFans. What do you guys think? Like, subscribe, comment, do to the Patreon if you can. But if you can't, that's fine, because I still appreciate you. All right, thanks. See you in the next one.